Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kate, this is the Mystic in the Woods, and today we're doing a 2022 roundup. Now I don't know yet if this is going to end up being one really long video or a series of shorter videos, but we'll see how it goes. So I wanted to do a video on my favorite things from 2022, so we're going to talk about some books and some tarot decks and some other witchy things like that. I have had a very challenging last few months, and I am just starting to feel better. I've been sick for over a week now. My whole family has been sick and on the couch, which has been very challenging with a toddler. So I wanted to just do something that would be a little bit fun, share some of my favorite things from this year. Of course, nobody should feel pressured to buy any of the things that I'm mentioning. This is just supposed to be like a fun, here are some of my standout things from 2022. I'll put the links below, but like I said, nobody should feel pressured to buy anything at all. So let's start with decks from 2022. These are all decks that came into my collection this year. So I have 5 of them. And these are sort of they're not necessarily my most used decks, but they are like the standout decks from the year. The ones that came into my collection really made an impact in some way. The first one is Tarot of the Abyss. And I have a full review of this deck on the channel, but I used this deck a ton reading for other people last year. I'm probably going to say this year throughout the whole video, even though it's already 2023, but I mean for 2022. Let's just like kind of make that disclaimer for the rest of the video. I purchased this deck because I was looking for an easy reader, something that would be very intuitive that I could use for other people. And this deck it actually hit all of my expectations, which, we tend to have expectations when we purchase a deck. And this one just met and exceeded all of them. It was very easy to read. It's very gentle. It loves to work with other people. This deck I have found is very good. It's very easy to read for others with. And it's very gentle but honest. So it kind of does this. So I know that this isn't something you want to look at, but I think that really you should. In like a very gentle way. Like, it's okay if you really don't want to, but I think we probably should. That's kind of Tarot of the Abyss for me. I put off purchasing it because I don't generally love black and white decks. I love decks with color in it. But I love Anna's artwork, the creator's artwork. And so after recommendations by other trusted readers, I thought I'd give it a chance, and I'm so glad that I did. So that's one deck. The second deck sitting here is the Boo Tarot, and this is an indie deck, I believe. Yeah, I mean, it's an indie deck. I don't know why I said that. I purchased this deck after I did my fall Samhain Halloween deck video, so this was not on that list. But I will tell you, I love this deck. I used it constantly through September, October, and November. It was one of those decks that made me want to read tarot. Like, even if I was not necessarily in the mood to do my daily draw, I would very specifically so that I could work with this deck. Like, it made me want to do my daily draws, to read for other people, to read for myself. I did use this for other people a handful of times. So if I wasn't using Tarot of the Abyss this fall, I was probably using this deck. So I love it. It's cute. It is easy to read. It is gentle. It is fun. This is definitely on like my top 10 deck list of all time at this point. I do have some warping going on with the cardstock, but I'm okay with it. I love the deck enough that I'm okay with it. So that is the Boo Tarot. Holographic on the backs. The majors have some holographic, super cute, super fun, love it. If it's within your price range and you like the artwork, go for it. The next deck, and they're not all, so I have, the Boo Tarot is indie, this one's indie, and then I have another mass market one as well. So that's not all higher and highly priced decks. The Spirit Keeper's Tarot came into my collection this year. I had wanted to purchase it the last time that it was available for purchase, and I missed it. I'm not really sure how I missed it. I missed it. And I finally got my hands on a copy this year, and I was very overwhelmed by this deck at first. So here's the deal. I opened this deck and immediately felt connected to it, immediately just waves and waves of emotions looking through the various cards, instantly can tell that this is going to be a ride or die deck for me. This is going to be a deck I will never part with. And then I set it down because I was just really intimidated. Because everything on this deck, everything on these cards is there for a reason. And it holds so much esoteric knowledge. There's so much to this deck that it felt very intimidating once I finally had it. And I've heard this story a lot. People were intimidated about the deck, didn't work with it. And I finally thought, you know what? I'm just going to get it out. I'm going to read it like a normal tarot deck, and we're just going to see how that goes. I'm not going to get too, concerned about the big book of maps, which is fantastic. And it reads just like a normal tarot deck. You can read this just like a normal tarot deck. And I had such a great experience with it. It brought me, I think, almost half the time I read with this deck, it brings me to tears. It feels like having a direct line to my entire council of spirit guides. Right now, obviously, we don't need a specific deck or even a deck at all in order to, communicate with our guides. But this deck just feels so much like a little council of guides in its box on my desk that I can use at any time to just communicate with them directly. So I think that it is a very special deck, and I'm really excited to use it a lot more in this upcoming year, to really get into it, maybe even do a little bit of a formal study with it, just really, really spend some more time with that deck. Two more. So the Ritual Tarot, or how do we say that? The Modern Hue Tarot by Ritual Planner, is also a deck that I was just blown away by this year. It's not available for purchase now. I will put the link below. I would love to see them do another run of this deck. I think it's very special and I love it a lot. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith, but you can see the color palette has been redone. I did a video talking about it when I brought this deck into my collection as well. And kind of getting back to the basics. This was the first time I had worked with a RWS deck, because I find the color palette in the RWS very aversive. The oranges and the yellows, they physically make me tense up. So, I have a huge respect for that deck, the Pamela Coleman Smith's RWS, but the colors, I just can't. These colors, I love. So, it's muted, it's water tone, our muted palettes, watercolor. See, I'm still getting over being sick, so my brain's still coming back online. Anyway. The last deck, because I wanted to keep the list short, but also get all of my, ones that just really blew me away this year, is Soul Cards 1. Now, this is not a new deck. Unless you're new to Tarot and Oracle, you've probably seen this around. I just took the leap on this deck this year. Freaking love it. It's amazing. I talked about this a little bit in, my how I read with different Oracle decks in a reading. And I love this deck. It was very intimidating as a new reader, which is why I never purchased it before. But this year, I decided to give it a chance, and I really love it. It really brings a very deep, intuitive feeling into a reading, and I really love that. And I may experiment with it for daily draws this year as well, which I didn't do in 2022, but I may give that a try. Okay, so let's do a few random other things next. So 2022 for me was a lot about finding my feet again as a new mom. So if you've been around the channel, you probably know I have 14 months now, so I have a toddler now. And so 2022 was really about learning how that new role fit me, right? And on my spiritual path and as a reader specifically, it's about getting my feet back underneath me. Because when I was pregnant, I really didn't read much of tarot. I didn't do a lot of ritual. My body didn't want me to. I would feel physically ill, actually, every time I even thought about it. So it was really about finding my feet again. And one of the things that I started to struggle with very quickly was burning candles. Because two things, right? As my kid became mobile, obviously I don't want him to hurt himself with a candle. And I also don't want my house to light on fire. And as a new mom, I am tired a lot, I am busy a lot, and I left a candle burning a couple of times on accident. I didn't leave the house, but it really scared me that I forgot the candle was burning. So 2022, really, I had this determination to find a safer way to burn candles, so that I could leave, or I could feel more confident burning a candle for a short period of time, like on my ancestral altar, on my main altar, even if I'm planning on staying in the room with it. So there are a few ways that I have been working with that. So one is these. So I'm going to put some pictures and videos here so you can see this in action. This is Photon Pearled Candle. I just found these. So what it is it's these teensy little balls of wax and wicks that you stick down in them. Like I said, I'm going to have some videos and pictures here so you can see this is all loose wax. And then these wicks, you just pop them right down in. So you can reuse any container. They recommend, I think, 4 inches across at minimum to keep everything safe. And because you want it 2 inches from the side and 2 inches from the bottom or something. The link will be below. You can find all the safety information. So not only does this let me reuse the containers that I love, like these, I have 4 of these. I've had them since I was like in high school, and I just love them. Like, they're so comforting to me. And now I can easily refill them. However, because the wax pearls are loose, if the candle knocks over, it will self-extinguish. The pearled wax goes on top of it, and it extinguishes itself. That's how it's designed to work. And then because the wick is shorter and it's never at the bottom of the container, flame never touches the bottom of a container or a side of a container if you're following the instructions. So you get rid of a lot of the risk of popping and touching the glass and different things like that. Now, of course, it's still a live flame, okay? So there are still safety considerations, obviously. But if it were to get knocked over by a toddler, if I were to leave it burning, the wick only has, I believe, a 2-hour burn time, but I'd have to look. This is the size of the wicks that it comes with, but you can trim it. So I can trim it down and know that this candle is only going to burn for an hour, even if I forget about it. And so that has been something that I really liked. I forgot one thing. I'm going to go get it because it's on this topic. So the other thing that I discovered, Instagram showed me an ad, but I loved these 2 products. This is Lucid Candles. So what this is, that's the brand name. And what this is an oil lamp that looks like a candle. And again, I will put the link, I'm going to put some videos and pictures here so you guys can see. But the oil that you burn with these, supposedly, again, is only flammable when it is evaporating on the wick, which lasts a very long time from what I understand. And I have not had an issue with needing a second wick on my first candle yet. This one I just got for Christmas because I love them so much I asked for another one. The oil is only flammable as it's evaporating on the wick. So if it knocks over, the oil is not flammable. This also self-extinguishes when it gets knocked over. Or at least it is supposed to. They come in all kinds of colors. This one has a stag on it, which is perfect. They come in different colors, different sizes, different shapes, but it looks like a candle. So I'm pretty excited about this. I love the first one that I have. I have it on my ancestral altar, like I said, so I can, I light it every morning. I usually burn it for about a half an hour, but if I forget it, I have a little bit more confidence that things will be safe. The other thing that I asked for Christmas was a couple of the candle lanterns. And if anybody knows about the safety considerations for these, please go ahead and put that in the comments because this is new. This is brand new. I haven't used these yet. I used one. I have one downstairs. I used one, but I'm still doing some research on these. My thought was, so this is glass and it opens from the top. So my theory is that if I fill it with this, then if it knocks over, it will still self-extinguish because the pearled wax will fall on top of the flame. However, when this is closed, my cat can't walk on top of it and light himself on fire. Nothing can fall into it and light on fire. My mom almost had a house fire once because she had a candle in a jar like this. And my sister and I were there visiting, I think we were both there visiting. But when my mom left, she must have like grabbed her purse or her keys and it flung her glasses into the candle, which eventually did light on fire, throw something hot out of the candle, and it lit her counters on fire. Now, my sister was definitely home because she's the one who put it out. And so even if the candle knocking over is only one part of the hazard, right? The other hazard is something falling onto the flame or touching the flame. So anyway, 2022, one of the things I was really determined, like I said, was to find ways that were a little bit safer to burn a candle. And yes, we have 7-day candles, we've got glass candles, I mean, there's all kinds of different things that we can do, right? But this is what have been experimenting with. This is especially actually very cost effective. There's an upfront investment, but then it's very cost effective. They have sales all the time. Okay. Like all the time I'm getting emails from Lucid Candles about how they're having a sale. So you can absolutely get these on sale. And at first I thought it was a little bit weird, like just personally, like on my spiritual path, like to use an oil candle instead of a real candle. But there's actually a long history of using oil and oil lamps on various types of spiritual paths, which I just wasn't aware of until I got this and started doing some more research. So some of you are going to go, yeah, obviously, of course there is. I just wasn't aware of that. So candles, that was another thing that was really something that I was determined to figure out. Like I said, I'm concerned about my kid touching it, which is partly keeping it up out of reach and never unsupervised. I am partly worried about, I have pets that need to be considered, things falling into them, and the very realistic possibility that even when I take every single safety precaution under the sun, including never leaving the room with a candle lit, I did a couple of times, like leave the room and go take a shower because I forgot the candle was burning because I'm a mom and I'm so tired sometimes. So I just was trying to find ways that might help me burn candles a little more safely, even though I'm still following the rule of never leaving candles lit when I leave the room. Okay, so let's talk about a few books and a few practices that were new to me for 2022. So, because they go together. First, I did start an ancestral practice for the first time in 2022. That's something that's new to me, like a formal ancestral practice. I've had some experiences with ancestors coming through in meditations and things, but these weren't intentional, and I've never had an ancestral practice. So I decided to do that this year, and I started very simple. I have a very simple ancestral altar, offering, a glass of water for offering, a flame. I have a couple representations, but they're a little bit hidden. They're just out of sight on the altar because that altar's in my main living room, and that's just, privacy felt important to me for those particular representations. So I'll put a little picture here, but it's very simple. It started very simply. And all I have been doing is every morning is lighting the candle, refreshing the water, and dumping that into a houseplant, because I've got a lot of those. And lighting the candle for a few minutes and just saying like a quick prayer, like a quick intention. And that's really all I've been doing, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been very simple. It's been very, there's a routine to it that feels very safe and familiar. So as I started that way, and then I got this book, Honoring Your Ancestors, Guide to Ancestral Veneration, Mallory. I'm not even going to try to say her last name, but I'll put the link below. And you can see I'm like not even quite done yet. I haven't had a lot of time to read this year. I love to read, haven't had a lot of time to read. I've got an infant and a lot going on. But the first half of this book, at least, I have been very impressed with. It is simple. It is easy to read. She puts a lot of information into a very easy to understand and short and simple explanation. And she talks about, ancestors that you do know of, like ancestors you can name, ancestors you can't, if you're adopted or you don't know who your ancestral line is, if you have ancestral trauma, she mentions a lot of these things in there that I know can be a hang up for ancestral work for a lot of people. And then she has easy, like, ritual ideas, I've really enjoyed it. Like, it feels very, as a beginner to that work, very approachable, but also lots of ideas for me to kind of deepen it, because in 2022, like I said, it was really about finding my feet again, and I love to experiment, so I love to try new things and bring new things into my practice and do research on new things. I love all that. But for 2023, I really want to deepen some of these practices. Instead of adding new ones, I want to deepen the ones I have, and my ancestral practice is one of them. I really want to deepen that practice. So I have really loved this book. I have no reason to believe I won't love the last part of it. Now, of course, please, though, whenever I recommend a book, know that I am not saying that every word in that book must be taken as though it is law. And books like this, I may not resonate with every single thing that this author says, and that's okay. But I am getting lots of new ideas. So when I recommend a book, just please know that. I'm not saying that this book is the only way to do ancestral work. Not at all. I'm just saying I got this book this year. I've really enjoyed it, and I have found a lot of helpful tips in it. Along the same path, I got this book for Christmas, The House Witch, and this one I am nearly done with. My sister gifted this to me, and she gifted this to me because she knows I have been getting into hearthcraft more and more this year. So one of the things that I have heard other women say is that they really stepped into hearthcraft when they had their kids. Because now, as a mom of a young child, I don't have a lot of time to sit down and engage in long, more formal rituals that I love. And so incorporating it into my day-to-day, incorporating my spiritual, my magical practice into my day-to-day life has been really, really empowering and enriching and very grounding. And so my sister gifted me this book, and this book, again, is just filled with, lots of little good ideas, lots of tips. Again, this is not the law on how house witch craft or, hearthcraft or anything like that needs to be done, but there's a lot of really good stuff in here. And if on that topic, if anybody has any book recommendations on hearthcraft or similar things, I'd love to know about that in the comments, because I really would like a couple more books, just because I love new ideas. I love learning about things. So I'd love a couple more books on this topic, but I've really enjoyed this one. There's a lot of good information in here. There's a lot of good ideas in here. There are lots of good ideas. She helps you to adapt them to whether you have a house or whether you have an apartment, whether you own or rent, kind of all these different things. So I've really enjoyed this book. Again, relatively short, relatively simple, just what I need at this time in my life. So in my daily practices video, I talked about this journal. So this is the Do Less Planner, and it is a planner for cyclical living. So it talks about the moon phases. If you're a menstruating person, it talks about the menstruation cycle and how to plan around it, because if you are a menstruating person, then your hormones change throughout that cycle. And as your hormones change throughout that cycle, what your brain is really good at doing changes as well. So detail-oriented, big picture-oriented, these types of things change. I have been using this for years. I love it. So I love this planner. It's by Kate Northrup. Love it. Absolutely nothing bad to say about it. This year, though, I was given the Cycles Journal. And I am, by a family member, I am very excited to try this one. So it is on the same track in that we are tracking energetic cycles, physical cycles like menstruation, following the moon cycles, tracking based on all of these different things, i.e. Cycles Journal, right? So it has these monthly pages in it, and then it has these weekly pages for each day. And then it also, for each new moon and each full moon, it has a separate section. This one is also dated and has astrological information built in. So if I go to today, I think today is the 6th. I'm pretty sure it's the 6th. Friday, January 6th. And it has up at the top the phase that the sun is in, the sign that the sun is in, the sign that the moon is in, the whether it's a full moon, and then we have the full moon in Capricorn questions. So I'm really excited to try this journal this year, because one of the other practices I want to deepen again is my cyclical living practice of following the rhythms and cycles of my body and the moon and the seasons. and harnessing that in my day-to-day life as well as on my spiritual path. So I used to have a very strong new moon, full moon practice, which I have had trouble getting back in 2022. Of course, kids don't just sleep through the night right away, most of them. So, fatigue has been a real challenge this year. And I just haven't been able to get back into that practice. So that's one of those practices that I really want to get back into and to deepen again, is my full moon and my new moon practice. There was something else I wanted to say there, but it left. I can't remember now. Okay. And there was just one other thing. One other thing that I wanted to share quickly. So I purchased a couple of rings over the course of this year from an Etsy shop called MoonSpinner, and I will make sure to put this link in the description below, because this is just a shout out to a woman-owned small business that I love. So I purchased these 2 rings. I have trouble finding jewelers using silver that are doing things in my style and can hold up to my lifestyle, because I'm really hard on my stuff. And so anyway, I purchased one, and then a little while later I purchased the next. But these rings are fantastic. So she doesn't keep everything in her shop all the time, but she has multiple collections. She'll release a collection, and then she'll release a different collection and stuff. But she has collections she's done with amethyst and kyanite and all kinds of things. And they're beautiful. And they are so well made, and they are just astounding. Like, I have really enjoyed them. This one is moss, agate, and smoky quartz. So this is like a super grounding stone. Both stones are very, very grounding for me personally. Moss agate is absolutely one of my favorite crystals. And so her stuff is a little bit pricey, but absolutely worth it if it is within your price range or something that you can save up for. Now, I did want to mention quickly, like, a lot of the things that have come into the physical things sitting on the table were gifts this year. They were birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, things like that. And I wanted to mention that some of these gifts were also given to me by people who do not have knowledge of my spiritual path, and they're not people that I would open up to, so like, I have family members, I have absolutely asked for tarot decks. Like, this is a tarot deck I'm really looking at. Like, I would absolutely love this as a gift if you're looking for something to purchase for me. I have other family members that I would not do that with. So when I discovered how much I enjoyed photon candles, I got a second one of these as a Christmas gift, because I felt completely comfortable asking for this. This was a Christmas gift. This was a gift. These were all things that I was able to ask for from family members who I'm not necessarily going to ask for, like, a tarot deck from. So I was able to put a lot of these things on just those types of lists. And my family members were able to shop sales. I shopped sales, and when people asked me where I wanted gift certificates to this year, I chose Etsy, because then I can purchase something like this, and I can put those gift certificates towards it. So if you are in a position where, financially, first of all, you don't have to have any of these things, right? Like, you can have a completely fulfilling, powerful spiritual path and magical practice without anything like this. But if you are in a position where, you're hoping to have some of these things gifted to you, but maybe you're in a situation where you're not going to ask for crystals or tarot decks or something like that, Etsy gift certificates, Home Depot gift certificates, they actually have a lot of different types of lanterns and candles, something like this, just various candles. And then also, just as a side note, like, you can get so many great stuff at secondhand shops too. Anyway, so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there as well, that my experience this year was that I really, I kind of took advantage of the gifting things, like seasons, when people would ask me, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? What do you want for, I would give them things like this that I really am finding very impactful on my spiritual path, but I didn't necessarily have to ask a family member who I don't feel comfortable talking about this with. I didn't have to ask them for a tarot deck or a oracle deck or a book on hedge witchcraft, right? I say, hey, I found this really cool candle company and I would love one of those. Or, like I said, an Etsy gift certificate, all these types of things. Just things to think about for those of you who may be in similar situations. So, okay, so that is it for this video. I have a couple of tags I'm hoping to do to kind of also wrap up 2022, and then I'm on to 2023 content. So I will see you guys later, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye.